My girlfriend kept leaving for work trips every other weekend. Then one night, my coworker casually described the tattoo on her shoulder without ever meeting her. My name, S. Daniel. I'm 31 years old, and until about 4 months ago, I genuinely believed I was going to marry my girlfriend. Her name was Kayla. We'd been together for almost 3 years. We lived together in a small apartment outside Chicago, shared bills, shared routines, shared literally everything. We had a dog together. We talked about getting a bigger place someday. We'd even looked at engagement rings once while walking through a mall. Nothing about our relationship felt unstable. At least not to me. If you had asked me back then whether I trusted her, I would have said yes without hesitation. That's probably why I ignored the signs for so long. Kayla worked in pharmaceutical consulting. I never fully understood what she actually did, but her job involved traveling to meet clients, attending conferences, and random weekend networking events. At first, the travel barely happened. Maybe once every couple of months. Then slowly, it became more frequent. A weekend in Denver. A couple nights in Nashville. Sometimes Dallas. Sometimes Atlanta. She always sounded exhausted afterward. And I always tried to be supportive. I'd drive her to the airport sometimes. I'd text her things like, "Hope your meetings go well." And she'd send back selfies from hotel rooms with captions like, "Miss you already." Looking back now, those pictures make me sick. Because every single one of them was staged. But I didn't know that then. I was just a guy trusting the person he loved. The first crack in everything happened on a Thursday night. I stayed late at work helping prepare for a quarterly sales presentation. Most people had already gone home, except me and another guy from my department named Trevor. Trevor was the kind of guy who always seemed too polished. Perfect haircut. Expensive watches. Tailored jackets. The kind of confidence that somehow crossed into arrogance without him caring. We weren't close friends, but we worked together enough to have casual conversations. Around 9 that night, we took a break in the office kitchen. He started talking about hotels downtown, specifically this luxury place called the Marlowe Grand. He laughed and said the bartender there already knew his drink order. Then he said something weird. He goes, "There's this girl there every few weeks with this tiny moon tattoo on her shoulder. Same drink every time, whiskey sour." My stomach tightened immediately, because Kayla had a tiny crescent moon tattoo on her left shoulder. And whiskey sours were her favorite drink. I remember trying to laugh it off. I even joked, "Sounds like you're paying a little too much attention to strangers." And Trevor just smirked. Then he said, "Not exactly strangers." At the time, I didn't fully process it, but the comment stayed stuck in my head the entire drive home. That night, I barely slept. I kept telling myself I was being paranoid. Chicago is a huge city. Plenty of women probably have moon tattoos. Plenty of people drink whiskey sours. Right, but once suspicion enters your brain, it changes how you see everything. Suddenly, little things started standing out. Kayla became more protective of her phone. She started taking calls in other rooms. She stopped leaving her laptop open around me. And every time she came home from a trip, she immediately showered. Not eventually. Immediately. I noticed she packed the same black dress every single trip. And whenever I asked details about work, her answers felt weirdly vague. Just client meetings. Mostly networking stuff. Corporate nonsense. Nothing specific. One night, I casually asked which company she was visiting in Denver. There was this tiny pause. Just 1 second. But when you know someone well, even 1 second feels loud. Then she answered too quickly. Westline Pharmaceuticals. Later that night, curiosity got the better of me. I searched the company online. They didn't even have an office in Denver. That was the moment my gut stopped whispering and started screaming. Still, I didn't confront her. I wanted proof. Or honestly, maybe I wanted reassurance that I was wrong. Because once you accuse someone you love of cheating, there's no undoing that. A few days later, Kayla left for another conference. This time in Nashville. She sent me airport selfies. Pictures of coffee. A blurry hotel TV. Everything looked normal. But I started paying attention to details. And then I noticed something. In one of the airport photos, reflected faintly in the window behind her, was a man wearing a navy jacket. Trevor wore navy jackets constantly. Again, not proof, but enough to make my chest tighten. When she came home from that trip, she seemed overly affectionate. That almost hurt more, because now it felt performative, like guilt disguised as love. About a week later, she asked me to print a document from her email while she was showering. I opened her laptop, typed a keyword into the inbox search, and then I saw them. Hotel confirmations, the Marlowe Grand, multiple reservations, 2 guests, weekend bookings, no company names, no conference information, just luxury hotel reservations. My hands literally started shaking. I remember staring at the screen trying to convince myself there was another explanation. Maybe she booked rooms for clients. Maybe coworkers stayed there. Maybe this was somehow innocent. But deep down, I already knew. I printed the document she needed, closed the laptop, and sat on the couch pretending everything was normal while my entire relationship collapsed internally. I wanted to confront her right there, but I couldn't. Not yet. Instead, I started watching, listening, paying attention. And honestly, once someone starts lying, the cracks multiply fast. She began making mistakes. One night she said she had an early morning flight, but her rideshare receipt showed a pickup time at nearly noon. Another time she claimed she was exhausted from meetings all day. But I saw Instagram activity from a rooftop bar. The more I noticed, the more I realized how long I'd ignored obvious red flags. Then came the company retreat. Our department had a 3-day conference at a resort outside the city. Trevor was there. So was I. On the second night, everyone got drunk at the hotel bar. Especially Trevor. And drunk people get careless. At one point, he leaned toward me and casually asked, "So you and Kayla still together?" I froze, because I had never once mentioned Kayla to him. Not ever. I remember staring at him and saying very slowly, "Yeah, why?" And the second I said it, I watched his expression change. Like he realized he'd just made a massive mistake. He laughed awkwardly, tried to brush it off, said, "Oh, I think I saw you guys together once." But it was too late. That moment confirmed everything. The next morning, I drove home early. Kayla wasn't there. She had supposedly gone to visit her sister. But when I checked our shared location app, her location sharing was suddenly disabled. For the first time ever, I sat alone in the apartment for nearly 2 hours. And eventually, I did something I'm not proud of. I logged into our shared phone plan account. I checked the call records, and there they were. Hundreds of calls. Hundreds. Late-night conversations. Long phone calls while I was asleep. Texts every single day. The record stretched back almost 11 months. 11 months. Almost an entire year of lies. I can't fully explain what that realization feels like. It's like someone reaches into your life and rewrites your memories. Every anniversary. Every vacation. Every "I love you." Suddenly all contaminated. I didn't scream. I didn't punch walls. I just sat there completely numb. When Kayla came home later that evening, she immediately sensed something was wrong. She asked, "Why are you looking at me like that?" And I asked one question. "How long has it been, Trevor?" I watched the color drain from her face instantly. That's the thing about guilty people. Sometimes the truth appears before they even speak. She started crying almost immediately. Then came the excuses. "It just happened. We didn't mean for it to continue. I was going to tell you." That last one almost made me laugh. Because people always say they were going to tell you after getting caught. Never before. I asked if the work trips were even real. She looked down and quietly admitted that most of them were fake. She and Trevor had been meeting in hotels for nearly a year, using conferences as cover stories. The selfies, staged, the airport photos, sometimes old pictures reused multiple times. And then she said the part that hurt most. Trevor knew